Well, hi everyone, welcome to K8MRD Radio Stuff. My name is Mike. If you haven't subscribed for some reason, what are you waiting for? It's free. Just do it already. Guys, today I want to say a big thank you to my friends at Radioddity. They sent us over a new radio. This is the Xiegu X6100. So thank you, Radioddity. Today I want to take a look at this radio. We're going to talk about all the features. We'll take a walk around it, show you the menu system and all that stuff. We're going to talk about some of the pros. And then we're going to talk about a lot of cons of this radio. So guys, I think I'm going to have to split this video up into two parts. We're going to do part one, the good, and part two, the bad. So without any further ado, let's get to the good. I was kind of coming into this with a little bit of a mixed feeling, or really just a bad taste in my mouth to begin with. You see, a couple years ago, when Xiegu released the GSOC, or GSOC as we call it, for the G90, it was full of all kinds of promises, and they didn't really deliver on any of those. And this radio, to me, seems like they took the form factor of the X5100, and then they took all of the problems of the GSOC, and now we have the 6100. So before we get too negative on this, let me take you for a walk around the radio. I'll talk to you about what I do like, and then unfortunately the list of cons is a lot bigger. So stick with me and let's dive in and see what we can do with this radio. Okay, so first and foremost, I have to say, just right off the bat, this screen is absolutely gorgeous. This is really nice to look at. It is certainly an upgrade from the X5100. I mean, just to compare the two, you can see they're very similar in size. The form factor is very similar, so if you have a 5105, you'll pretty much feel right at home with the 6100. The way the buttons are laid out, everything's kind of similar. So I do like it in that regard. It is fairly intuitive, but we'll dive into the menus in a little bit. Up top, we've got our power button. It does take a little while to turn off and on this radio. It is a Linux-based system, so you're basically waiting for a computer to load up. And there we go. So the screen is beautiful. You've got a nice waterfall display here. I'm not hooked up to an antenna. We're just hooked up to a dummy load right now. You've got a little scope here to show just what's going on inside your bandwidth. You've got a dual VFO. So up top, you've got all these buttons here. AB, your preamp and attenuation, your auto tuner. This tuner is fantastic, right in line with all of the other Xiegu tuners. This fast is going to cycle between our hertz and kilohertz. We've got an AGC or split, so that's your automatic gain control. So you've got slow, fast, auto. If we long press this, I believe that's split. So if you want to do split operations, you've got your VFO memory, and you can also save your memories. I don't have anything stored in here, but that's where you would do that. The left and right buttons are going to select between your bands. And then you've got, I like this, you've got SSB, CW, and AM, FM. So there's lower sideband digital, upper sideband digital, and lower sideband. So you've got all of your sidebands there. CW goes from CW to CWR, and the AM, FM is going to do your AM, FM. And up top, you've got a PTT. So this actually has an internal microphone that is this tiny little hole right here. I don't know if you can see it, but there is a tiny little hole there. That's the microphone. So you can actually use this just like the X5100, just kind of man portable. You don't need to bring the external microphone, but it does come with one. This is the microphone that you get. It's a copy of the ICOM, very standard for the Xiegu radios. The X5100, the G90, both have this same hand mic. I should also mention you get a USB-C cable with this for the USB-C plugs here. And you've got your, I think this is your speaker or headphones. You've got your key jack, your accessory. There's where your mic plugs in. A small SD card, a micro SD plugs in there. Also comes with your power cable, just the barrel connector with the leads just bare, so you can add your power poles or whatever you want to with that. Nice ruggedized body. It is all metal. It's got kind of these little plastic bumper things, maybe to protect it from falls, or maybe just make it look cool, I suppose. We'll get into the buttons in a minute. On the other side, we've got our BNC, you've got your IQ out, and you've got your DC input for 9 to 15 volts. There is an internal battery in here. I believe it's a 3800 milliamp hour, and no heat sinks like on the X6100, but a very, very slick looking radio. I mean, it is very sexy. So let's get into some of the menu system here. Very simple. So all of these buttons are going to kind of control what happens down here. Now, actually, before we get to that, let's talk about this upper knob here in the corner. So this is a multi-function knob, and you can see we're adjusting the volume right now. And there is a new update that I haven't done to this yet where the volume actually goes up to 55. But if you push it, you've got your squelch. If you push it again, you've got your RF gain. This will go all the way up to 100. Okay, this button down here, if we're just on the general radio settings, our button and knob here, this is a multi-function, so it pushes in and rotates so you can see the power is changing. We can go all the way down to 0.1 watts, all the way up to 10 watts. We are plugged into an external power supply right now. But let's hop in. Down here is kind of where all the business happens. So if we go to radio setting 1, here we've got most everything you're gonna kind of need to control the radio, your gain, your transmit power, if you want to adjust the transmit power, your mic select, that is, you can choose either built-in or the handle, which is the hand mic, or auto. So if the microphone's plugged in, it'll just auto detect that as opposed to pushing the PTT. But if your microphone's unplugged, push the PTT, it's going to key up. So that's what auto does. Then you've got your internal mic gain, your hand mic gain. I find 10 is, I think 10 is the default. I think that's a little low. So you can use the little plus or minus arrows to raise or lower that. You've got your line in level, your line out level, monitor level, PTT mode. What this is if you just push the PTT when it's in normal, if you got to hold it down for it to transmit. If you put it on toggle, if you just push it, it's constantly keying up until you push it again. So that's what that does. I would just leave it on normal. And then you've got your band stack, basically ham bands and then all bands. And then speaker mode is either speaker or headphone. Charger, you can choose to have the radio charged when it's powered when it's plugged into external power, or you can just have it use the external power without charging. I like to leave it on charge because this battery does not last very long. We can exit out of this menu and we can go to radio setting 2. Here we have our receive incremental tuning, our transmit incremental tuning. I believe that's your split. And then you have some functions for the hand mic if you just want the F1 and F2, which are these respectively. So you can program these two buttons to do something, which is nice. Display settings. I've played with these. They didn't really seem to have much effect on anything on the X5100. You can kind of alter these and they'll actually have effects on things. I've not noticed much with any of these, but this is basically your waterfall and spectrum display settings. Here you have your backlight level. That might do something. Yeah, so that does something. There's some instant gratification for us. Goes all the way up to 10 and then off. That's kind of it for the settings. Is there anything else? Yeah, there's system settings. Not really much you need to do with in here. You can see we're on version 1.1.2. There is a newer version that might fix some more issues, but not much was fixed in this version. And then we have memory edit, which If you need to edit or save or delete any of your memory channels, you'd go into here, and that's where all that music would happen. So clicking on this app button, here's where we have our modem. Now, I've not been able to connect this to my computer. It just does not see this. There's other videos on the webs showing people using this with FT8 and stuff. I've not had any success whatsoever. My computer doesn't even see this. So for Mac people, I'm gonna say it's a 100% fail on anything digital and connecting to your computer, but that's where that would happen. You've also got this SWR scan. Now this is nice. So you can sweep your SWR. Of course, there's no antenna hooked up here. Let's hook up the dummy load. Do that again. And you can change the speed. It is really slow on 1. It takes forever. Then you can change the span, how far out you want to sweep it. So these are always really nice functions. You basically have an antenna analyzer in your radio. So that is really nice. And then you have voice call, which I've managed to record something, but you can't hear if it's transmitting, and I didn't see any power out, so I don't think any of the voice record functions work. It's in here, but it doesn't work, but that's where you'd find it. Key, here's where we'd set up our keyer. So we can go manual, auto left, auto right. We can change the words per minute here. Iambic A and B. We can change our tone, tone level. Let's see, anything else? Here's the QSK time, to-da ratio, CW trainer. I've not been able to figure what that is. That might be, there might be a readout. It might be a CW decoder, I would suspect that is. And you can use this little knob here to turn things on and off. Going to messages, so here's a message. I don't know what to do with this. That might just be where you save things, but this is for the digital portion. This messages portion, when you get to on the actual message, this is where you would go to record your voice message. Now I've tried this, it recorded it, but when it transmitted, it wasn't putting out any power. You could see it was transmitting, something was happening, but it was putting 0 power out. So I don't know what the deal is with this. It looks like it's a function, but it looks like it's a function that doesn't work. That's the messages, and then DFN, this is our digital filtering. So this is one of the nice things about this radio. Let me turn this up a bit. So the noise reduction is off right now. Now the noise reduction is on, so the noise reduction is actually really good on this, and then here you can change the depth of the noise reduction. You've got a noise blanker. You'd really only need that if you're hooked up to a car or something, or there's some kind of electrical ignition noise going on. Your noise blank width, noise blanker level, and then another great thing about this, you've got a notch filter. Finally, one of my biggest complaints on the G90, there's no notch filter. Well, this one has it. So that's fantastic. And then here's where you would adjust where the notch is. It works fairly well, actually. There's no auto notch, but just the fact that this has a notch filter is pretty nice. And then your DFL, this appears to be like what ICOM would have, a twin passband filter. So you can adjust filters A and B and narrow your bandwidth there. You can go back to default. You can go to filter 2. That's set it by default to 2400 and 1800 on filter 3. So you can narrow or widen your bandwidth there. So that's nice. And that's pretty much everything about the menus. It's not very hard to use. Obviously you have your VFO here. I think this is a bit stiff for my liking. It doesn't freely turn. You gotta, there's a bit of resistance to it, which I guess some might like, some might not. I do like this rubberized thing around the edge there. It makes it easy to grab. This little indentation is, I mean, I think they were just having fun with us here, because that's absolutely worthless. No one's ever gonna use this on this VFO. It's just not functional. And then here is where you can, oh, that does your backlight. This lock button, if you long press it, there you can see the lock icon now. Now your VFO is locked, and then long press it again. So the things I like about this radio, we've got the beautiful screen. It's easy to navigate as far as the menus. The noise reduction and the notch filters work great. I like the SWR scan. That's pretty much common in all of the Xiegu radios. It's a great size, very easy, compact, portable The USB-C, I like that they've integrated that. They don't work at all for my Mac, so I don't know what to tell you. You're screwed if you have a Mac like me. It's got an internal battery, so that's nice. And you will get up to 10 watts if it's hooked up to external power. And that's kind of all of the nice things I have to say about this radio. So that's gonna be it for part 1 of the good side of this radio. And stay tuned for episode number 2, where we talk about the bad part of this radio. And unfortunately, there's a lot, so you'll definitely wanna watch this next video before considering buying this radio. So hit the subscribe, like it, share it, do whatever you want with it. I don't really care. Just have fun with radio. And thank you so much for watching another episode of K&M Radio Stuff 73, guys.